Hey, what's happening, Disney Viewers from the Guy01, and welcome to this week's Versus episode on the Walkthrough channel. This week, it's Roddy Piper against the immortal Hulk Hogan. It is our weekly birthday versus, but before I get into that, I want to apologize for last week's Versus episode coming out as late as it did. I know I said in the video that this one was, or that one was going to come out late, but it should not have come out as late as it did. And actually, that was my fault. That video was actually ready to be published on schedule, and it should have been posted immediately after the walkthrough video. I just forgot to hit publish. I thought I did. I guess I just didn't. So yeah, it was ready to go, and all I had to do was hit publish, and I just never did. So then I went to work on Saturday, came back thinking that I already uploaded it. Went to work Sunday, and it wasn't until I turned my computer on Sunday to work on stuff for school that I saw that it was still in the queue to be published, and I was like, oh crap. So it ended up not getting published until like late Sunday night, even though it was ready to be published Saturday morning like normal. So sorry about that. But yes, it is our weekly birthday versus. We only had 2 birthdays this week. It was Lita's birthday on the 14th, she turned 49, and it was Roddy Piper's birthday on the 17th. He would have turned 70 this year. So yeah, I'm doing Piper versus Hogan because, you know, can't do Piper versus Lita, that wouldn't work. So I just decided to go with Piper's most famous rival, Hogan. And before we get into Raw and SmackDown this week, there is some news to cover that just got announced recently. It recently came out that Seth Rollins has a torn meniscus, and he has had it since WrestleMania, and actually wrestled both nights on WrestleMania with that torn meniscus. Now, I mentioned last week that there were speculations that both Becky Lynch and Seth were going to be taking an extended amount of time off after Mania. And after this came out, yeah, that's fair. Alright, so let's get into Raw. And speaking of injuries, Raw didn't get off to a great start. Rhea Ripley came out and announced that she has a severe shoulder injury and will be forced to vacate the women's title. And she did it right there in the ring. She vacated the title and basically said that she will be having to take an indefinite amount of time off in order to heal and recover. The segment ended with Liv Morgan, who attacked Rhea Ripley in a backstage segment last week, coming out to basically taunt her. The segment ended with the two of them getting separated by security. Now, it's not clear how long Rhea has had this injury, if she's had it since Mania or if it came afterwards. But of course, you know, with that whole attack angle happening last week, it seems that WWE is kind of leaning in on Liv being the one causing the injury. Now, whether or not, and of course, you know, now there's a speculation of Rhea did actually get injured while they were filming that segment, that backstage assault segment from last week. And that's where the injury happened. I don't know if that's the case, but she didn't show any signs of injuries at Mania, so I can't imagine it happened before that. So if it did happen after Mania, there's really only one notable moment or instance that it could have happened, and that would have been with the, you know, when they were filming Liv attacking her backstage. And I hope that's not the case, and I hope this doesn't turn a bunch of fans against Liv, because that's kind of gonna hurt your career if you're the one who gets, you know, blamed for, you know, forcing or putting one of the most important, you know, wrestlers on the roster on the shelf for who knows how long. And it's just really unfortunate for Rhea, who, you know, wins at WrestleMania to retain the title. Really reinforces this idea that WWE is entering a new era for their women's division. You know, the 4 horsewomen are basically all gone except for Bayley. She's like the one who's still hanging around. But, you know, you've now got people like Rhea, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Io Sky. You know, you've got these new ones who are coming in. And Rhea was kind of like at the forefront of that. And she was the fan favorite out of all of them. I mean, even though she was a heel, and, you know, she's still technically a heel, which was kind of weird because normally heels don't kind of get these, like, big emotional having to vacate the title moments, but, you know, she was the fan favorite, so. And there were also already speculations of, you know, the Judgment Day splitting up after Mania, mainly with, you know, Damian Priest leaving the group after becoming World Heavyweight Champion, and potentially Rhea breaking away and becoming her own person. And now it kind of seems like those plans either have been pushed to the side or now are like, okay, now we just got to do this because now there's no point to keep them together anymore. Because literally when Rhea walked out of the show, the last thing she did was talk to the Judgment Day, and she basically told Damian Priest, you're in charge now, basically. She didn't tell him that. He basically just assumed that position as, you know, the new de facto leader since she's gone. But Rhea basically, you know, solidified that when she basically told him to take care of Dominic for her. Ow. How dare you? So yeah, it's just a shame that that happened. Man, WWE has had a real tough time with injuries this year. I mean, how many Mania matches got changed or outright dropped because of injuries? I mean, Charlotte Flair was supposed to be at Mania and most likely face Jade. CM Punk was supposed to be at Mania and, you know, most likely face Seth. Seth was almost out, and that was the whole reason they brought The Rock in, because they weren't sure if Seth would even be able to compete. And it was like, man. It's like, come on, guys, give him a break. So that was probably the biggest thing to come out of Raw this week. But speaking of injuries, Sheamus made his return to the company after being gone for about half a year due to injury, beating Ivar in a fun match. It was a very Sheamus match, a very hard-hitting match, which was a little concerning given that he just came back from a months-long injury. But he came back in style, returning with his old Written in My Face theme, which got a huge ovation. Great to hear that old theme back. And a lot of people commented on Sheamus's appearance. Yes, he wasn't as, you know, defined as he was when he left, but he's also been out of action for half a year, and was also, you know, he mentioned this afterwards, that there was a good chance that he wasn't going to come back, that the injury was that severe that he was almost looking to be done. So the fact that he even got cleared to wrestle at all was a miracle. And I'm sure he wasn't able to work out as much because of this injury. So yeah, his physique isn't going to look as good, but he's still an elite level athlete, so it doesn't matter what he looks like as long as he can go. Can Piper do a dive? No, of course not. Piper do a dive. I mean, this he can do. So yeah, it's good to see. We lost Rhea, but we got Sheamus back. And it won't be long, I'm sure, until he's in the title picture. Either for the US title or Intercontinental title. Speaking of titles, Triple H brought out The Miz and R-Truth to present them with the new World Tag Team titles, unveiling the new titles on the show, replacing the tag title, the Raw tag titles, which have basically been the same design for the last 10 plus years. I mean, it's basically been the same. The tag titles have had the same design since they were bronze. I mean, really the only thing that's changed in that time is they changed the plates from gold, from bronze to silver, and they changed the strap color. So they brought in these new tag titles, and I like the new design. It's nice to see gold brought back to the, you know, the mid-card titles. I mean, there was a time there when the only, like, title that was gold was the World Heavyweight titles. I mean, yeah, the Intercontinental title had some gold on it, but then, you know, the tag titles were bronze, the US title was just red, white, and blue. So it's nice to see some gold back in the gold. And I mentioned this before, and I mentioned, I can't remember if I mentioned this before or if this was something I meant to say on this episode. But WWE is obviously continuing the trend of differentiating the titles between the brands. Instead of it just being the Raw title and the SmackDown titles, it's the World titles and the WWE title. So it's like the World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Heavyweight Championship, the World Tag Team titles, the WWE Tag Team titles, which we'll actually get into that when we get into SmackDown. But speaking of the tag titles, hashtag DIY beat the New Day. Ow. Stop taunting. Hashtag DIY beat the New Day and the Creed Brothers in order to get a shot at the Awesome Truth's tag titles. Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae beat Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree. The big thing really to talk about with that match was Indy is finally kind of joined Candice in embracing the darker, dirty methods to win a match. It seems that Candice has finally corrupted Indy. Andrade Cien Almas beat Dominic Mysterio. Afterwards, the Judgment Day came out to attack Almas, but was then saved by Ricochet, who has also had his troubles with the Judgment Day. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven beat Chance and Carter. It's obvious that Triple H is trying to bring more attention to the women's division and really build it beyond just who was ever in the title picture, putting a lot of focus more on like just mid-card women and also their tag divisions. Would be nice to see a few more singles matches in there, but you know, I can tell that they're trying to, you know, continually push all these interconnecting stories on TV, and the easiest way to do that, okay, the best way to, you know, promote all these different stories on TV is in tag matches, because you can get more people on screen. Ow. Well, you just wasted your resiliency. I mean, it's not like you could have. It's not like if you mattered if you submitted out here. Got him. Jey Uso beat Finn Balor, making him the #1 contender for Damian Priest's world title. So it'll be the two of them facing each other at Backlash. That should be a fun match and a good first challenger for Damian Priest. I mean, Jey Uso is still a fan favorite, especially after Mania. So, and I mean, I doubt they'll pull the trigger and make Jey champion. I see them keeping that title on Priest for a few months. And in the main event, Sami Zayn beat Chad Gable in order to retain the Intercontinental Championship. It should be mentioned that this show took place in Canada and Sami Zayn's hometown, so he was the hometown hero, of course. So he got a huge ovation when he beat Gable, and then he got his butt whooped. Chad Gable attacked him after the match, beat him up, and then put him in an ankle lock on the top rope, and basically started taunting Zayn's wife at ringside. So Chad Gable has officially turned heel, which is, I feel like we also mentioned this before. This was something that WWE's been teasing, Gable turning heel in his quest to win the Intercontinental title. And there's also now rumors of him forming a stable with the Creed brothers. And of course, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh my god, they're going to make a new Team Angle. This is going to be awesome. And, you know, I think Gable needed this. He needed that heel turn to, you know, drop the goofiness of Alpha Academy. I mean, even though he was whenever he was in the ring, he was still a legitimate, you know, performer and legitimate tough guy. But I think having that stable with Alpha Academy and Otis still kind of held him back of how serious he could be taken as a character. Not as a performer, but as a character. So I think this is going to help him with that. And I think this is really going to give him a chance to be the next Kurt Angle. That aggressive wrestling machine character. Moving on to SmackDown, AJ Styles beat LA Knight to become Cody Rhodes' challenger for the WWE Undisputed Championship, which will be defended at Backlash. I know there will be people who, feel that LA Knight should have won and gotten that shot, but given that it's basically a foregone conclusion that Cody's going to win, maybe it was a good idea to not have LA Knight be the one to challenge him. Keep Knight winning in the long run. As I mentioned before, WWE have continued the tradition of basically getting rid of all the old title designs when Triple H gave Grayson Waller and Austin Theory their new WWE tag team titles, which actually very much resembled the titles from like the 90s, the tag titles from the 90s and the 2000s and the Ruthless Aggression era. So it's nice to see them go back to that design. And again, it's just good to see them go back to gold. You're done. Count it. Piper beats Hogan. The Street Profits then beat the Authors of Pain and Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo to get the shot at those new WWE Tag Team titles. Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman came out for a promo. They were then joined by Tonga, who brought out a bloody Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens was then beat up by Solo and Toma. And then they showed a video package of a car accident involving Kevin Owens, which we can assume was orchestrated by the Bloodline. And again, it's nice to see them, reintroducing blood into TV. Even just not for matches, but in like promo segments like this. It's nice to see that get brought back. Santos Escobar beat beat Carlito, not Carrillo, Carlito. And in the main event, Bayley faced Naomi, but the match ended in a no contest after Tiffany Stratton attacked both women to close out the show. So kind of a lackluster main event. Really the biggest thing to come out of SmackDown is either AJ becoming the new #1 contender, or really just the new tag titles. And again, it's just nice to see that they're really reinforcing this idea that out with the old, in with the new. This is a new era, and we have the new titles to represent that. And so far, I'm really liking all the new designs. I mean, I still don't get why they felt the need to change the Intercontinental Championship. I mean, out of all the titles, that was like the one that needed redesigned the least. And it'll be interesting to see if they also redesign the WWE Undisputed Championship, because it looks good on Cody. It does look good on him, and it's not a terrible design, but I think fans are tired of seeing that giant W title. And even though the new ones still have the WWE logo pretty prominent on them, it's not as bad as it used to be, especially with the world titles. And, it's nice to also have a variety in designs, beyond just the color of the plates or the color of the straps. Actually get different, shape designs. And going back to, those classic designs that the fans love. It's just nice to see that even though we're going into a new era, we're still keeping some of the stuff from back then. But that is it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know of your thoughts on Raw and SmackDown this past week. What are your thoughts on the new towel designs? And what are your thoughts on the 4 new #1 contenders? Leave those in the comments below. Stay tuned for next week's Versus and next week's episode of Lego Batman 3. Even though we finished the story this week, we will be doing more episodes, so stay tuned for that. And hope you guys enjoyed. DC Guy01 and the Rowdy One, Hot Rod, Roddy Piper, signing out. Bye, guys.